how do you navigate the risk element? Because I know all three of you guys have done an excellent job in navigating that risk. So starting with you, walk me through some of the risk assessment criteria. Not obviously any trade secrets, but generally just so the general audience can understand. And the reason why I bring this up is because look, we've had a lot of. I personally don't invest in B2C fintechs, like lending fintechs today. Primarily, what the reason why it was highlighted earlier, it's a lack of data on consumers, and therefore your NPLs can just skyrocket very quickly. And we've seen that in some of the B2C side. So, wanted to kind of understand the strategy in terms of how to mitigate your NPLs. I know it's it's pretty low on all three of you guys, which is what impressed me about your respective endeavors. But wanted to hear from each of you how you mitigate that component.
Yeah, I mean, just to kick it off, and I was touching on what Omair was talking about before in terms of e-commerce companies, for example, just not having the forms of collateral that a typical lender would want to be able to borrow against, because that's what collateralization is defined as specifically for banks, right? I think, and that's where the problem lies and the opportunity. It's definitions of collateralization. So definitions of collateralization are so wide, and this is why developed markets are where they are comparatively to developing markets, is because there are so many forms of collateralization, which are not just land, not just your inventory. And which is where the risk aspect comes in terms of mitigating your risk when you are doing the lending, is saying, what is it that I can collateralize then? What is your core business and what can I collateralize against that should tomorrow you cannot pay? And by the way, majority of the time, it's not necessarily that the person doesn't want to pay, especially in this environment. Right? In this environment, it's not a matter of them not necessarily not wanting to pay and there being straight up fraud. That'll always be there. I think in majority of the cases, that's less than 0.5 to 1% of your book. I think, and probably even less than that. The people who they cannot pay because of XYZ reasons, which we know from a macro perspective what's happening. So what is it that I can collateralize against for me to get comfort that I will get paid back? And so that's essentially where, again, it's not a trade secret, but that's essentially what we do to be able to mitigate the risk. We make sure that everything we do is collateralized in one shape, form, or the other. Now, it's not just land, it's going to be other things. And I think that's how we control our risk aspect of our portfolio.